Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Wayward Dragons review episode. I'm Johnny.
And I'm Kelsey. And welcome to the side episode. That's why I started naming them as side episodes.
We're both a little out of whack. We had a bye week a couple bye weeks just because of stress and all that. We're both doing a lot personally. I think Kelsey more so than myself, but
yeah.
So
I got like
we might have a little more beef. A little more content, a little more cake, whatever you want to call it, in this episode.
More macaroni and cheese. We got more cheese.
We got all the cheese.
Because we're lactose intolerant.
So yeah. Anyways, Kelsey, how are you?
I've been okay. Got a lot going on. It's just the wedding. Yeah, the wedding and 2 jobs and it it's been rough, but we're getting through it. So how have you been?
All right, just work and more work. Yeah, I don't know, we haven't recorded in it feels like forever, so
I know.
Sadly, I didn't get very many books read.
What? How many did you read?
Only 8.
I got 7.
You still got to get up on my level.
I'm almost. No, I got 7 done. If it wasn't for the fact of my first job and all that bullshit, I would have finished my other book today, so I would have had 8. So I only have a couple hours left in that one.
Gotcha.
Mother truckers. But I was like, do you want me to go first with the ones that I've read?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I'm mentally out of it.
No, you're fine. I know your Goodreads wasn't popping up. You're having a minute figuring that out.
It's up. It's just all the books that I read aren't registering that I read them this year for some reason, and I can't figure out how to fix it even on the computer.
That's weird.
So
I know,
yes.
on the app it does that, and I just give it 24 hours and then it fixes itself.
Oh, well, these have been on here a while, so.
Gotcha. So, I read Clockwork Dynasty by Daniel Wilson. I finished that, where it's like Terminator, but what if Terminator was made by the first race of humans before we even showed up? We're the second race of humans. So that was very interesting. The ending was kind of lackluster, but I'm interested to see where the series goes because it's the first book in a series. So that was eh. And then I read Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. That So basically, I liked it, but I didn't. There's 5 different storylines that you have to keep track of, and it's not all the same. I'm okay if it's the same person, or it's the same timeline but different people within the timeline,
It jumps around a lot.
But in this one, you've got 2 different timelines, and you've got 3 different people. So you've got the main character now, and then villain now, and then the cop in it. So there's a lot of timelines that you got to keep track of. And
that sounds confusing.
Yeah, but it's a little triggering for people. It can be. I mean, it can be triggering.
Was it written by a neurodivergent person?
I don't know, but it goes on.
You know how we tell stories.
I know, but it goes on the idea of, it builds on Hitler's kind of idea that he had, that you can take a child that basically comes from a criminal family, and you know that that's what they do because genetic, like within their family tree, it's just a whole bunch of bad, right? Everybody's in and out of trouble all the time. So the thought is if you take the child young enough, one, and take the child out of the family and do like some brainwashing, like some serious brainwashing, that they will become a functioning member of society.
So nature versus nurture.
Kind of. So it's a little weird because it's about kids. And that's one of the timelines, is it's kids, and the kids finding out that like this is what's happening to them, and something happens to one of them and she kind of snaps in a way. It's so, I mean, the ending was okay. Like, her creepy voice is a little weird, obviously because I listened to it as an audio. That one was okay. I've been listening to, or reading, I've been physically reading the Soulwood series by Faith Hunter. I like those books. To me, they're awesome. So I finished up Flame of the Dark, and then I've got the next one on hold. Thank you, library. So I gotta wait for that. And then she's got another series that's called Jane Yellow Rock. And how many of those? Technically 3, but I don't count the prequel as a first book. It's just a collection of short stories, and some of them happen before the first one, and then there's another one, like one of the short stories happens like further in the timeline. But basically,
just kind of a fill in the empty spaces type.
Yeah, well, the Jane Yellow Rock and the Soulwood they're kind of parallel. They become parallel at a point, because she has been writing the Jane Yellow Rock series before she started Soulwood. But basically it follows a woman named Jane, and she is a contracted rogue vampire hunter, but she is a skinwalker. Huh. And no one knows that she's a skinwalker. And the issue one with her being a skinwalker is the animal within her is Beast. It's like a second personality almost. It's its own consciousness. And a long time ago, when Jane was a little girl and getting introduced into being a skinwalker, and this was a long time ago, like before Trail of Tears type thing, because she remembers the Trail of Tears, that Beast tried to kill her because she was a baby bobcat, and Jane shifted her consciousness, like took over Beast's body. It's real weird. So she for a long time was Beast, and then all of a sudden, like, she just walks out of the woods one day as a 12-year-old, has no idea who she is, where she's at, what year it is, like, no idea. So part of the story, because now she's grown, she's 21, figuring herself out, and she likes this whole rogue vampire hunter, and she gets contracted in New Orleans, because New Orleans is a hub
back then.
So but it's kind of because she's part Cherokee, so it's one, her finding herself spiritually, coming to terms with who she is, because she's not okay with everybody knowing. there's only a few people that know because just of how the book is. All paranormals are real in the book series. So I've been reading that because my other book's on hold. Those are okay. I mean, I like what she writes. And then, so I've listened to Ghost Eaters by Clay Chapman. And I'm going to give you a warning. That is one of the most gruesome books I have ever read in a very long time. That was very gory. That was very detailed. If you are squeamish, I do not recommend it at all.
So not something you would read to a child for bedtime.
Ooh, oh no! This will give this that it generally creeped me out.
Or is it definitely something you should read to a child at bedtime?
I mean, if you read your child horror stories, go for it.
Hey, if people are still reading to their children, you know what? Good for them.
Good for you. Good for you. For real. Because Dolly Parton's free books only go up to, I think, 3rd grade. The undercurrent of the book is there's a new drug on the market, and its name is Ghost. And it opens your world up to the other side and being able to communicate with your past loved ones. And that's the hook to the drug is as long as you take it, you can keep talking to your loved ones. What they don't tell you is you slowly go insane. And there's a super toxic relationship within the book. I mean, like, super toxic. Even after death, it's still super toxic. But it is very, very gory, very gruesome. Especially the ending. Holy shit. And obviously, because I listened to it, I found the characters very whiny, like, listening to it. I don't know if that's just like a narrator or if that's just how the author wanted them to be portrayed. But that is not for the faint of heart. I understand why it's in a lot of people's like top 5 horror books that they've read this year. Because it came out a couple of months ago. Holy shit, though, dude. That was
fucked up.
Well, like, it's so the drug itself is a mushroom that only grows on dead bodies, right? So, like, but in order for the mushroom, yeah, but in order for the fungus to grow, it has to grow off of an addict.
Okay.
Because the mushroom puts the spores in your blood, so when you die, you start producing the mushrooms, basically.
So then,
in order to make the ghost.
The first person
that you never find out how that happens.
Huh.
Like, but it's.
You know me, Mr. Curiosity. That's where my brain automatically goes.
That was nasty. That was nasty. And then the last one I read was River Woman, River Demon. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Jennifer Guyvan. She's a she's an indigenous novelist. And the undercurrent, the supernatural current is very intriguing because it deals with a Latin American woman, and she is a bruja, whatever they call their witches in healing woman. Bruja, thank you. The main woman in the book is a bruja, but her husband practices hoodoo and voodoo, and he's a professor. He owns a shop, and the crime element of it, it's bullshit. The main storyline, absolute bullshit. Didn't really like it. The occult part, the Bruja part, it was actually very intriguing. That was actually really cool to read. It was on the November November books, like new released it was released last November in 2022. Honestly, it was nice. It was interesting to like kind of get a taste of all that kind of occult stuff, but I would the crime part of it, that's freaking
a lot of times
bullshit.
they just throw that in there for flavor.
Like, the neighbor dies on their property, and like the whole thing is staged to look like her husband did it. He obviously didn't do it, but like the solution, I'll give everybody.
You mean an occult practitioner who's framed for doing something evil?
What?
We'll talk about that more next week, guys.
But like normally with true crime, like you kind of got some detective work rocking, you know. In this one, like the solution literally just like falls in her lap. Like she doesn't do a whole lot, and she's very neglectful of her children, and it yeah. If you look it up on Goodreads, just listen to the Goodreads reviews. Don't waste your time with this. It was one of those ones I felt like that was a waste of time for me. I mean, it was interesting to like listen to all of it, like the Bruja part, but honestly, it was a waste of time otherwise. Honestly, in my opinion. Like, she's very neglectful of her children, and it's just... Yeah. What about you?
So, I read a lot. No, not really. So to start off with, I read Voice of War, Stone of Light, and Bonds of Chaos by Zack Argyle. They are the Threadlight series. There's only 3 books in the series. Pretty interesting, different type of depiction of magic and how people get magic. Basically, originally people had to be able to control magic. There's 4 different types of magic. There's sapphire, emerald, amber, and onyx. And they would actually insert stones into people's hearts to give them magic, or over time they would have like sediments that built up in their hearts as they were, before they were born, to give them magic. That was like sediments in the water, and you find that out later in the series. So sorry, slight spoiler alert. But typically, what you see is the emerald or the sapphire. There's actually one guy who has an emerald and a sapphire, but you could tell by the color of their eyes. So everyone has brown eyes, unless if you have emerald, obviously you have green eyes. If you have sapphire, you have blue eyes. Which, as the story goes on, you meet people with, there's somebody with like one of each color eye. And then you find other people, as the story goes, that have other abilities and such. But as I said, very, very interesting take, especially considering that they view magic as, yes, something that's helpful, but also something that's harmful, because you can abuse it, and you can become addicted to it.
Yeah.
And there's a character that seriously struggles with addiction and struggles with it as the story goes. But, very much high fantasy. The first book came out in 2020, and then the last book came out last year. So the author literally had the entire story planned out and wrote them out from there.
Okay.
I also read the economics book, Big Ideas Simply Explained by DK Publishing. I know it's not going to be interesting for a lot of our listeners, but I don't know. It was decent enough. I've got to reread it because there's a quote in it I really liked that was a big fuck you to capitalists. It's funny. Well, say it's a big fuck you to capitalists. It's kind of pro the concept of capitalism, but it's also very much anti a lot of the stuff that capitalists preach. And it's very much like, basically, it's a statement that is about capitalism that can easily be used to counter ultra conservatives on the side of bodily autonomy.
Okay.
Because the quote, I don't remember the exact quote, that's why I've got to look it up, but it's something along the lines of, it's a famous economist who said this, but it's our inalienable God-given right to our bodies and the things they produce.
Yeah.
So basically, it's man's God-given right, or woman's God-given right, human's God-given right, whatever you want to say, over what they do with their own body and anything that comes from their body.
Yeah.
So I just think that's funny because that's like one of the big conservative economists that are saying this. Granted, he's talking directly about, stuff that you're making to make money off of, but I think it's, something interesting, or a interesting way of looking at things. I also read The Last Ditch and The Greater Good, which are two more of the Caiaphas Cain series in the Warhammer universe. I think I have like one left in the series, maybe two, maybe 107. I don't know. My issue is that I'm too much of a completist, and I started these, so I have to freaking finish them. They're good, they're enjoyable. Don't get me wrong. They're a little heavy on military at times, which I'm not a huge fan of, but the overall lore is really interesting.
Yeah.
I also read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, which are by Leigh Burdugo. I'm gonna go on our little show review right here in a minute involving these, but they are by the same author who wrote Shadow and Bone. These books take place 2 years after. The first one took a little bit getting into. The second one I think was a bit better. There's characters from Shadow and Bone that show up in it. So here's my massive complaint here about the show, because I enjoyed the first season. And I'm like, well, this character's not in the book. This isn't really introduced. Well, I figured out why after reading these books. Yeah. Is that they've introduced characters from the second series into the TV show. And it's really bothering me because the second season of the TV show ties in the second book from to Shadow and Bone series and the first book from the Crows series, but they take place 2+ years difference. And so they're tying them in at the same timeline, and there are certain things that are getting crossed. Granted, some of the characters they've casted, I do enjoy the casting, but it's like, guys, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, that's you can't do that. I mean, you can, but like it's gonna make a lot of stuff not make sense. I feel like if you jump timelines that quick.
Yeah, and like I've got a friend who read the first series. I don't think they've read the second series yet. They watched the first season and they're hesitant on watching the second season, and I'm like, yeah, this is what's going on. So, like, without spoilers, this is what they're doing. So, make your decision on what you want to do there. But that's, I think, all the reading I've done. Let's see here. That's yeah. So nothing
too major.
Crazy. I don't know what series I'm reading next. I've had like multiple books pop up as recommendations.
I was like, so I'm listening to. See. I'm in the next Pendergast series. Next book. It's the Diogenes trilogy. So I'm in the second one of that. So.
And how is it?
I'm not liking it. But I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna finish it. Kinda.
Not
like they're good. Yeah, not like you. Like they're good, but like there's the luster, like the I just, I don't know. It's not the same. I feel like we're kind of like petering out. I mean, there's a lot more books in the series. I think there's like 21 now. So they just
numbers.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I got some interesting ones from the library.
For those of you who don't know why I said that, my favorite book series has 41 books in it.
Yeah. Yeah, them
and that's just the regular novels. That's not including like the fun things they do to set up the lore and the science of the universe, or the kids' books they've done, or any of the short stories.
Yeah, so I picked up The Girl Who Could Move Shit With Her Mind by Jackson Ford.
That's the actual name of it?
Yeah! The Girl Who Could Move Shit With Her Mind. And I like the cover because it's got like a whole bunch of like random shit on it. Like, so I picked that up from the library. Because that's what I normally do on my day. I go to the library. Too Many Curses by A. Leigh Martinez. That one, it just looks a little weird.
Oops, all curses.
The Gutter Prayer. Where's another one? Oh, The Swashbucklers by Dan Hanks. Look at that. I'm a cover. I definitely judge.
You're not supposed to read. You're not supposed to judge a book by its cover.
God. I do, and I got another Anne Rule book in here. I love Anne Rule. And there's a couple other like mid-series ones, but I wanted you to see those. Those look cool as shit.
That's pretty cool.
But like this one's like Goonie based, if that makes any sense. Like, well, I can just read you the back. When Cisco Collins returns to his childhood home for Christmas 32 years after helping save the town from the ancient pirate ghost Dead Man's Grin, he realizes that being a childhood hero is nothing like the movies. Struggling with single parenthood in the wake of his divorce, Cisco isn't really in the festive spirit, and it doesn't help that none of his friends seem to recall their battle against the deadly pirate ghost, or that his dark power seems to be creeping back into the world. It's like a whole bunch of nostalgia. Yeah. With the aid of a talking fox, an enchanted forest, and some magical 8-bit video game consoles, Cisco must make his friends remember the past and take the fight to Dead Man's Grin once again. Of course, it turns out ghost busting was a lot easier when you didn't have to contend with bad knees, school runs, and your kids' nativity play.
I feel like he probably found some mushrooms in that magic forest.
So yeah, that's what I picked out of the library that I will be completing over the next like 2-ish weeks. So, because that's what I do. Like when I have a really rough day, is I go to the library because I don't feel bad about taking them home, so many home, because I don't have to pay for them. I don't feel bad. So, and then I found The Ruin of Kings.
Okay.
So
that's a big book.
That's a thick boy. And then the Labyrinth of Dreaming books. It's in another language. It's translated. I found that out. So, but the cover looks really cool. The little dinosaur. So, yeah. Do you watch anything interesting? Anything worth of note?
Not really, just me bitching about the Shadow and Bone series.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Okay.
I've been working, and I've had a friend who's been moving, who just basically was stuck in a lease with an ex, and he gave her opportunities to get out and do better for herself multiple times, and she has like addiction issues, and he finally got it to the point where he said screw this, and was able to get out of the lease and get a new place. So I've been helping him move, but that's intermediately, and that's about it. So yeah, killing myself from that and killing myself at work.
Nice. Nice. Well, then we can wrap this episode up. By the time this episode comes out, we will be a couple days away from the second Mercury in retrograde for this year. So that begins April 21st. So just letting everybody know. Watch what you say. Pay attention to your car. Make sure you double check them emails. And we will be starting a mini series on the Satanic Panic. Yay!
Woo! Ah!
Woo! So join us for that. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. YouTube is where you see my hands and I unbox stuff. My Mindful Souls boxes. And if you have a book recommendation, a topic recommendation, or if we have somehow messed all this up, you can email us at thewaywardragons@gmail.com.
Don't forget to
please rate, review, and subscribe. Yeah, follow us on social media. Come join us. Cat Tax. You get to see all of our kitties. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and please tell a friend. Pretty, please. We would greatly appreciate it.
And until next time, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Kelsey. Bye.
Bye.